This right here is Kyrie Irving's timeline as a Brooklyn Net. His first year at the team in 2020 was really a redshirt year without KD. He undergoes shoulder surgery and plays in a grand total of 20 games. Probably could have returned to the NBA bubble, but didn't want to. And hey, he did donate a lot of money to WNBA players who didn't want to go to the bubble themselves. But ultimately, his first year in Brooklyn was thrown away.
But we also should mention even during that bubble, he caused him problems because he blatantly said like people should not go to the bubble. And he knew, and you just said when we kicked the show off, John, right? He's the vice president of the NBA Players Association. So he knew full and well that saying that and getting people to do that can void everybody's contract. So they're not getting paid. He did that blatantly and knew that. But continue, John.
And just for clarification, there's three different vice presidents: him, Malcolm Brogdon, or four: him, Malcolm Brogdon, Jaylen Brown, and Bismack Biyombo, I'm pretty sure. So then 2021, Brandon, Kyrie Irving has one of the best years of his career, makes an All-NBA team, flat out phenomenal. But what people forget is they traded for James Harden because this guy literally took a leave from the team, a personal one, and then was seen partying. He missed almost 20 games that year for miscellaneous reasons, and he took multiple leaves at that. It wasn't just one, probably doing his soul searching. So they traded for James Harden because their second star in Kyrie cannot be relied on, and for Kevin Durant, given he's in the second half of his prime, he needed that star who can kind of take some of that responsibility off of his shoulders. Last year, Brooklyn has its mandate that if you don't have the vaccine, you can't play in the state. So Kyrie was going to only play in away games until the Nets said, actually, no, Kyrie, we're just not going to have you play to start the season. Then they've realized by December, we actually kind of need him to play. So he decided to play in only away games. And by the spring, Kyrie kind of won that battle, though his team kind of lost a lot of continuity. And James Harden had been traded at that point. Why? Because he was dealing with a hamstring injury, and Kevin Durant was doing everything while Kyrie was at home. So his first 3 years in Brooklyn did not leave a good taste in their mouths. Not to mention the 1 year he did play very well, and he got injured in the playoffs in the second round. And this year, Kyrie's had good games. His last game was pretty bad against another Eastern Conference team, forgetting off the top of my head. And now he's dealing with this. So no matter what it's been, Kyrie has found ways to continually miss games. And for the Nets, he is the reason why this failed. Right there. It's Kyrie Irving. It's not Kevin Durant, because Kevin Durant has held his end of the bargain. Last year, he was phenomenal, and then tore his MCL because of how crazy a workload he had. He goes down, and the team goes on a 10-plus game losing streak. Literally could not win one game without him. And for Kyrie, he wasn't really holding his end of the bargain given how much Brooklyn committed to him. And the Nets have done a lot for him, right? They move on from Kenny Atkinson. They signed DeAndre Jordan. And credit to Kyrie, he took a pay cut so they could sign DJ. They've basically given those two guys full keys to different moves they want to make. They've had them bring in different veterans. And the best part is, they were literally their own coaches. If KD and Kyrie want to play a full 46 minutes, they were going to, or a full 48. And if they want to come out of the game, they probably could have. Steve Nash did not have much of a say in that dialogue. The second layer of this topic, BCAP, is we know the Nets have to blow it up. It's obvious. Get the assets that you have right now for KD, and all of your draft picks owed to Houston, right? 2023 swap, 2025 swap, and then 3 firsts in 2024, 2026, and 2028. It stinks. But the fact of the matter is, the Rockets this year are a terrible team. If the Nets, let's say in theory, trade Kevin Durant to the Phoenix Suns, they get some young assets, and they start to rebuild once again, and they get top 5 draft odds, right? And they swap picks with the Rockets, right? So the Rockets, they finish with the 4th pick, they slide back down from the number 2 odds, and the Nets, they move up from like 6 to 1. You still have a top 5 pick. And best case scenario, Brandon, best case, if the Nets blow it up this year, they get assets for Kevin Durant, they cut their losses, and they start to rebuild the culture that was ruined by the stars they tried to bring in to take them over the top. They try to skip a step in the process by bringing in stars that weren't homegrown. All of a sudden, you have the opportunity in the draft to acquire one of those players. The best part is he's going to be 19, 20 years old. You get to develop that. And for this front office, there's no better way to move forward from this. You have to cut your losses, and most of all, get what you can now for the one asset you do have in KD. This episode is brought to you by our friends at Best Damp. Today is Sunday afternoon, and one of the best parts about the day is watching football, of course. And if you want to get a stake into the game, you want to bet on the games, you want to know what the market is. You want to get the best available odds. And oftentimes, that can be a time-consuming endeavor. And that's what BetStamp is here to help you with. If you want to see all the sports books in one single place, all you have to do is download the BetStamp app, which is totally free, and you can sign up for a variety of sports books so that they can provide you the best odds so you can maximize your returns. To go along with that, BetStamp also features other tools, such as a bet analysis tool to get constant updates on how well you're performing, but also the accounting tool so that you can track all of your bets in one single stop. So join us in the BetStamp app. Link is in the description, and use our referral code at WISEGUYS. That's WISEGUYS. Thank you to BetStamp for supporting our show. And as always, let's get back to it. So will the Nets do this?
So would you say, I'm going to ask you a couple questions. So cut your losses. Are you basically saying trade away their three best players, Simmons, Kyrie, and KD?
Ben Simmons is no trade value. He might be probably the least valuable contract in the NBA. So you'd have to hold on to Ben. Hope he can continue to play better off of the back surgery. For Kyrie, no one wants him right now. I don't think even the Lakers would be interested in bringing him in the middle of the season, given the concern that could create. Kevin Durant is the only tradable one.
Yeah. So, I mean, here's the thing is that we know the news about Ime Udoka is coming. He's going to be apparently the new head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. I don't think you bring in Ime Udoka if you're going to blow it up. So I think they're going to ride this out. We'll see how it goes. I believe in Ime's skill set as a coach, and he showed it in Boston that he was able to rally the troops, get them to buy into a system, get them to buy into playing defense and sharing the ball. I think this one is going to be much more difficult because those guys were younger guys, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, people that you can actually kind of mold, and they will still really, they're not stuck in their ways. Kyrie and KD are different. They have their style of play, and they're not really going to change their style of play. Can you get that? I think KD will be fine buying in to a ball movement. I mean, he was in the Golden State Warriors system. He said he loved it. It was his most fun time playing basketball. He's openly said that. Kyrie, it's going to be a difficult one for Udoka. I do not envy that man to taking on this job. But if anybody can do it, I guess Udoka can. So we're going to have to see. So I don't think they're going to blow it up just yet, because I think you don't bring in Udoka if you're going to blow it up right away.
You and I are on two completely different playing fields here. So thank you for mentioning that, because I completely skipped the craziest part about all of this. You're hiring Ime Udoka. Why do you think Ime Udoka is available? The Nets apparently did their due diligence in 12 hours. The fact of the matter is, the Nets now, I saw a great article, are sacrificing morality. So, literally mere hours, days after Kyrie Irving basically defending himself for his right to post and promote anti-Semitic beliefs, you're bringing in a head coach who was suspended an entire season by the Boston Celtics. The NBA has to step in here. You can't just, cross the waters. Oh, you can't be a coach in Boston, but guess what? The Celtics can have you field an interview with the Nets, and next thing you know, 6 weeks later, you're coaching for them. That's how this thing works. And for Udoka, look, I get it, B-Cap. He was suspended, and he's doing what's right for his career. He has to look out for himself and his family. But at the end of the day, you just quit on your players. As a former player myself, and I didn't play at the collegiate level, if one of my coaches said to me, dude, I lost all respect for you. If you're going to, in the blink of an eye, do something wrong, hideous, off the court, the reports, we don't know the full story, but based off of it, they're ugly, and to basically get suspended like that, in and of itself, you're laying down your players. You're setting the wrong precedent. And now you're going to leave them instead of waiting a full year to kind of serve the mistake that you made. You have to pay your due. You wait a year, and the Celtics ideally would bring him back. If he shows, hey, look, I've developed and improved, and, the off-the-court issue that was there. And I think for the Nets, you're Brandon Udoka, but fellas, Ime Udoka's not fixing anything here. What do you think Ben Simmons is going to do when Ime calls him out in a press conference? The same way he did Marcus Smart, because, look, I love Ben... okay, that's not true. I like Ben Simmons, but he cannot handle that. He doesn't care as much about the game of basketball. And so if you think this Nets team is built for a guy like Ime Udoka who's brash and honest, I'll be honest, I think they're going to crumble. And for Ime, he's going from a great situation in Boston to a bad one in
Yeah.
Brooklyn.
Yeah. No. Couple of things that I think that we disagree on. First off, we don't know the full story, right? We know only what has been reported. Um, from what I've seen, um, it was like I said, I think we talked about it a couple of months ago or whatever when it first happened. It was a consensual relationship um, with a employee of the Boston Celtics. Now I think there were some other reports that uh, he made advances, I guess, before the relationship or he did things that could be seen as sexual harassment. I believe that was in one report, but again, we don't know the full story. From everything that I've heard, the Celtics were not eyeing him to come back. They were going to cut ways with him, and that's why they gave him the opportunity. I don't think if you were going to bring him back, John, I don't think you give him an opportunity to field other jobs while he's suspended for a year from you. Um, this whole thing just seemed, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff that hasn't come out yet about it, and maybe it will come out, maybe it won't ever come out. Maybe we won't know the full story, but I think maybe we can put two and two together here. And if Ime Udoka is coaching for the Brooklyn Nets in the next, I don't know, month and a half, I think we can put two and two together here and basically see that it it wasn't as bad if it was the major bad stuff that we it could have been, he wouldn't he wouldn't even have a chance to, be coaching for the Brooklyn Nets. I think the NBA would have stepped in and they would have suspended him or banned him or whatever from the NBA. It was the Celtics that suspended him. So he can't coach for the Celtics for a year. That's why he's able to field the job in Brooklyn and take that and be able to coach. So again, the NBA will most likely do their due diligence. And when this signing happens, or as it's happening right now, probably they're doing their due diligence right now. And we'll see what comes of it. If he is coaching, I think that we can look at it and say, all right, that happened. And now we're moving forward with it. So, listen, I agree with you that it's a bad situation to come into. I mean, talk about two different visions of the lay of the land. Ime Udoka is completely brutally honest and brash and kind of says it to your face and will call you out. And KD is a guy who has burner accounts. Kyrie's a guy who will backtrack on everything and really doesn't want to be confronted on anything. And Ben Simmons has had his struggles in the past. Not a favorable position for Ime Udoka to be in, no.
I don't even think it's KD. I think it's a matter of culture setters that the Nets sorely lack. And you're right on a lot of those comments. I think for the NBA, they still could step in and potentially discipline Udoka because I think depending on how severe the situation is, they have full autonomy to do so.